Always give thanks to those who come before you. So we thank you, Knockstock Tribe. Today we're going to talk about this area right here. Do you know what this is? This map tells a lot about the lots and lots of lies that's been spilled about a specific area east of the river, past Good Hope Road, up MLK, leaving Uniontown. Yep, Berry Farm. Eastern Branch, Potomac City, Potomac City, Berry Farm, 379 acres. That's a lot of land. Original Berry Farm tract. Look at it now. Can you see these streets? Oh, you thought it was 3 blocks? Check that out. Welcome to the Mohan Report. Today we will discuss Know Your Hood, Rep Your Plantation.
You look around you and say, hey, you know what? Something ain't right. Like you say, how these people over here drive? And I can't drive. We not driving. I mean, you gotta want more for yourself. Regardless of what somebody did to you or what.
You ever lived on this side over here? Okay, so let me let you in on a secret that was taught to me at Anacostia High School in 1990. They said that according to my... Hey, what's up? They said according to my address, I needed to be leery because when you apply for jobs, they're going to look at your zip code and determine whether or not they hire you. Thank you.
And determine what?
Whether or not they hire you. And 9 times out of 10, if you living in the farms, you ain't getting hired. I don't care what your educational background is, or any of that. So our people still had a lot of stuff that was,
jump through and roll blocks and all that.
But and the second thing is, what are they learning? Who are they learning it from? Who's teaching us?
That's why. Here's the thing: you still gotta know how to play the game. Go ahead and learn this stuff, but learn your stuff too. You just gotta know how to play the game. Yeah. That's all it is.
But they don't even know they got stuff. That's the problem right there. If you ask the average person in DC, who's your great-great-grandmother? They can't tell you. If you don't know where you're going. Cause you don't know.
We are standing at the edge of part of the Berry Farm tract. Currently in St. Elizabeth Hospital, or at least what was formerly known as St. Elizabeth Hospital and the St. Elizabeth tract. See the winds out here because the ancestors like, tell them, girl, you better tell them. So I'm going to share this information with you. Today, we are going to circle the entire tract of Berry Farms via Metro Transit. So enjoy this history lesson. I'm Lady Mo at Beast, the Beast from Southeast, the gutter godmother of DC hip hop and rap. Welcome to Berry Farms.
Well, it's another sunny day in the Knockastonk, and the beast and the monster on their way across to the east of the river. Sad, really, when you ride through town. So many unnecessary erect trophies that have nothing to do with the people who the land belong to. Well, still rolling through the south side.
Right across the bridge, by the big chair, cruising through the city of clubs. Ain't no smiles where it ain't fair. Tight space with everybody with mugs while we rolling through the south side. War, they ain't straight. War 7's no better. East of the river, coming for a shutter. We ain't cheesing while the rats on the hill, eating like hogs while our peoples get killed. Setting up shop with a new coffee spot in the middle of the block, trying to build your spot. We can't buy cause the bank gon' deny, and they only want the lease and the rent sky high. So my peoples don't try, can't buy up the track, so they plot stay vacant till it burns or collapse. Their plans get greased by a big company with developmental plans that don't include me. Reconstruct, redevelop, swap the people that you see. No more chocolate substitute with cream. Chase the whole identity of the knock and stomp tribe. Replace every village with a new high ride.
You are now tuned into Cruddy Vizion, sponsored in part by Cruddy White Radio, Beast and Monster Inc., Lioness Films, DM Records, Beat Burners Productions, Monster Graphics, Cruddy White Publishing, and the Cruddy Crankers. We do Cruddy right. What's up, y'all? Lady Mo at Beast, the Beast from Southeast, and I'm here with you today, and I wanted to discuss one of my most favorite places in what we call now the District of Columbia. It wasn't always the District of Columbia, especially this part, this location, this section and area that we're going to speak of in depth today. We're talking about none other than the famous Prairie Farms, the 18, one way up, oi, Koshtom territory, the Eastern Branch, also known as the Eastern Branch. Well, at least it used to be to our elders. So, with all that being said, let's get started. Okay? So I'm gonna read to you from a couple of different websites today, and y'all let me know what y'all think, because you have a lot of people that talk about Bray Farms. I live in Bray Farms. Like, I live in the Bray Farm project. We don't even call it Bray Farms. Farmers call it Bray Farms with an F. I don't know why, but yeah, we call it Bray Farms, but it's Bray Farms, okay? So I'm going to speak about my experiences living in Bray Farms after we go through this segment here. So I just wanted to give you a brief synopsis of what they're saying very formally. So we have several different sites that I'm pulling up today. So this one is a website called Cultural Tourism MDC. Cultural Tourism DC.org. Okay? And we're talking about the Bray Farm site, African American Heritage Trail. Now, I'm going to use the words of my man Corey Mayu, because you're going to see throughout the different documents and things that I read that it's going to say African American, but I can promise you that before the 1980s, these documents did not say African Americans. This is someone else's perception of who we are. I must stress that, because African American was not a part of our language at the time when these things were being written. This is a current language that is being used to describe our people here. I'm not going to say whether or not the term is correct, because on a lot of the older documents it's going to say black, or it's going to say free, it's going to say Negro. So, and also on another side of it, even before we get, I'm just strictly going to discuss the 1800s through now on here. But if I was to take you back even further, you would know that this is the Koshtom territory, and that's a whole nother series that we're going to discuss later on. But right now, this is Know Your Hood, Rep Your Plantation, and in the words of all my go-go great lead talkers, so where y'all from? Tell me where y'all from. What? This is a call and response in the go-go. So in the go-go's
we name out the neighborhood, the streets, the crews, you know. And the reason why I'm doing this report, Know Your Hood Record Plantation, is because you had a lot of beefing in the 80s and 90s. I'm gonna say it's not as heavy as it was because we were getting 400 bodies a year in the 80s and 90s, late 80s. So at the Go-Go's, to bring a lot of people together and to get the street and neighborhood recognition, and these talkers would ask, well, where y'all from? 15 place, where y'all from? Robinson, where y'all from? Prairie Farm, you know what I'm saying? And all these people would come together. It was like a powwow. It was a powwow. Drums led everything, percussion led everything. You had the rest of your back line, shout out to them, and your talkers, aka your chanters. Same thing you always been doing. But let's get back to this Bray Farms project. All right. So it says Bray Farms site African American Heritage Trail. In 1867, the U.S. Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen and Abandoned Lands, popularly known as the Freedmen's Bureau, created Bray Farm, a post-Civil War community of formerly enslaved and free persons. The Bureau acquired 375 acres of land from David and Julia Berry, white landowners. The plan was to sell the leased lots for black housing and use the proceeds to fund education at the same time. The acreage was subdivided into approximately 1 acre lots and sold on installment plans or lease. Many of the new residents came from alley slums in Georgetown and Washington City, the only places they could find to live in freedom. By 1870, more than 500 families had made Bray Farm their home and had started creating a community. Families worked in the city by day and built their homes across the river by night. Now, I find that pretty funny, and I'm going to stop right there because right now you have noise ordinances that tell you that you can't build or make loud noises after certain hours. Now, they had to build in the night and work in the daytime in order to survive. Let's carry on. Families worked in the city by day, built their homes across the river by night. Macedonia Baptist Church and Mount Zion Hill School were the first institutions built by residents. The school's lot was purchased with Freedmen's Bureau funds generated by land transactions. The community was renamed Hillsdale in 1871. During World War II, the U.S. government constructed Bray Farm housing on Hillsdale's eastern edge to relieve overcrowding across the Anacostia River. Soon, urban renewal in Southwest brought more families, spurring the overbuilding of multi-family housing. These projects, along with the Suitland Parkway and Anacostia Freeway, greatly changed the neighborhood. Several of Hillsdale early houses still exist, especially along Elvis Road Southeast, but most have been raised and replaced with more modern structures. Bray Farm site is bounded by St. Elizabeth Hospital, Alabama Avenue, and Moores Road Southeast, and the Anacostia River. Now, in saying that, I want you to understand exactly what they're saying. So, I'm going to pull up the original land tract, right? Here's the map. Actually, this isn't even the original map. This is a reconstruction of the original map. Okay? This is a map from 1870-ish, I want to say. And this is a map, 1871, I think this map is. Yeah. This map right here is Potomac City, aka Hillsdale, aka Berry Farm. Now, like I said before, you can have that long line right there. You see the government hospital for the insane right there? Okay, across from that. That line right there, that's the line on the backside of Berry Farm. That's the line on the backside of Stevens going all the way up. So, matter of fact, starting from the water, coming down, right? Alright, so about to get to Stevens, and the backside of Stevens is St. Eve, going all the way up. All the way up to Alabama Avenue. You're on the left side of this line. Moving down the left side to the right of this line, you got Alabama Avenue. That's from the Hebrew Cemetery all the way up to Eddie Lemon. I know, right? All the way up to Eddie Lemon. And I went and I matched these maps up together today because I wanted to make sure that I knew exactly what I was talking about, right? Yeah, so what I did was I went to the map again. Right? Now, it's a funny thing about these maps. Maps will actually tell you exactly what you're looking for. Now, I just explained to y'all that Berry Farm went from no water, all of this, low water. This is Stevens Road right here. I'm going to zoom in for you. Okay? We'll move it on back down. Berry Farms Rat. Here's Stevens Road. So, go to Stevens Road from the border. I'm going to make it a little bigger for you so you can see. Alright? Stevens Road. You see where it says Navy Housing Welcome Center? Stevens Road. The water. Okay? Come on up Stevens Road, up Wade, cross Wade. These are the, as a matter of fact, so it would adhere because this is St. Elizabeth, right? So this is Stevens Road. These are the houses on Stevens Road on both sides. There's a wall here of trees, grass, and a long gate, which leads to the St. Elizabeth, the rest of the St. Elizabeth tract. Okay? So, you come on up. Parkchester, that's you too, boy. Berry Farms. Come on up. Come on up past Catholic Charity. Boy, oh boy, I'm about to zoom into the streets for y'all. Okay? What is that there? Suitland Parkway is in Berry Farms. Do you see that? Suitland Parkway is in Berry Farms. All of this is Berry Farms. Oh, I see another jet. Hold on, where y'all from? Robinson. Yeah, and Jasper Road. Berry Farms. Who knew? Okay. Keep on going. Past 12th Street. Past 12th and Bruce Place. Keep moving on. See where I'm at. What's up, 15 play? I'm still moving. Y'all see that, right? Uh-huh. Now I'm going to zoom out. Let's look where we at. Alabama Avenue. Alabama Avenue. I just told y'all that here's the line, Alabama Avenue. So that means 15 place, that's you too, boo. That's you too. That's you too. This cemetery wasn't built until after the fact. So draw your line through right here. And you're going to come up to Congress Place. You're going to cross Tanner Street Southeast. Till you get to Alabama Avenue. That's a big neighborhood. Do you see that? Alabama Avenue. Alabama Avenue. Right? So you go up Alabama. Zoom out a little bit. Out. So yeah. So the cemetery's here. Goes to Alabama Avenue. Boom. Alabama Avenue is where the Google sign is down here. You're going to ride past New Image Community Baptist. You're going to ride Henson Ridge. Up past Willard Place. Frederick Douglass Place. And these names are going to make sense to you once I continue to read. All the way to the Eddie Leonard. All the way to the Eddie Leonard. Well, all the way to where the Susan Parkway curves. How about that? All the way to where the Susan Parkway curves. Which is in between 24th and 22nd Street. And they're like, how did she come up with this? How did I come up with this? Well, for one, this is a current map. And the only thing I typed in was Berry Farms, Washington, D.C. Right? So now I'm going to click the word Berry Farms. How big does it tell you Berry Farms is now? It tells you, well, we know, well, you might not, so I'll get into that later on. But this, as you saw from the first picture, is part of the tract. All this was part of the tract. Understand what I'm saying? To Alabama Avenue, this was Berry Farms. This was Berry Farms, right? And forgive me, because I'm going to say Berry Farms every time because I lived in the farms and I know it's Berry or Berry's farm. But we're going to get back to more of the story. But I wanted to show y'all, so like even now, if you click it, and as you can see, Johnson Junior High School is in Berry Farms. Stanton Glen Apartments is in Berry Farms. Morris Road, that was the next connection. As you can see, they clipped off half of this tract right here in the right hand corner because this is also part of Berry Farms. All you people that live all of you that live in between Fort Stanton and Stanton Glen, oh, y'all Berry Farms. Y'all Berry Farms. I don't even know why they cut it off like this. It's just silly. They just hacked it. You saw that there was a rectangle. They hacked it. So here's Morris Road. None of these streets existed, and neither did Suitland Parkway. It was water. So coming on down to the Eddie Lennox, boom, Gray Farm. All right, let's get back to some good Gray Farm history. Right now, I'm going to read from storymaps.arcgis.com. All right. And this is Gray Farm, a community of freedom workers and activists. And the writer is Jocelyn Ortiz. December 3rd, 2019. Bray Farm to begin. Bray Farm has gone through many names. For some it's spelled Burry's Farm or Bray Farms. And historically, it has also been known as Potomac City, Potomac City, Hillsborough, and Hillsdale, and Bray Farm dwellers. Bray Farm and its various identities can be traced from being a set of land plots intended for freedmen to public housing for an ever-expanding labor community in Washington, D.C. The community of Bray Farm has persisted with its existence, often advocating for themselves through the many eras of American history, most notably during the immediate aftermath of the Civil War, World War II, labor migration, and the Civil Rights era. Now I want to stop right there for a second because I want you to notice that they're saying that people came to Bray Farm during the aftermath, the immediate aftermath of the Civil War. Well, I've read where there were already people living in Bray Farm or east of the river or the eastern branch before land was allotted by the Freedmen's Bureau. And here it is. This is the part you don't really get to see on them old maps because they'll show you to the left-hand corner the city of Washington. Again, Bray Farms and everything across this river here is the east of the river. It is considered Washington County, not the city of Washington. Washington County. UD. Okay, so this is a map of east of the Anacostia featuring Bray Farm, also called Potomac City in 1874, courtesy of the Library of Congress. And as you can see, there's that line drawing it out from the water. Okay? Okay. Reconstruction to the early 20th century. You're really going to have to go and look up what Reconstruction is because we kind of tend to skip right on over that after the post-slavery era. We kind of skip over Reconstruction like it didn't happen. The location of Bray Farm has grown increasingly smaller throughout its history, once spanning over 375 acres, and it is now just 3 lots of public housing, soon to be demolished. Bray Farm was procured by the Freedmen's Bureau through General Oliver Otis Howard and his intermediary, John R. Elvin. Howard used Elvin to buy the land from James Berry's heirs, Juliana and David Berry, in 1867. The land was contained within Uniontown, what would later become Anacostia in 1886, a majority of white areas. The white communities that lived there did not want a free black community of landowners to live there. Yet, the purchase ensured that freedmen would move into land plots within the year. Reverend Hunter established Macedonia Baptist Church. Mrs. Eliza Spotswood Shippen, the first black woman to own land in Bury Farm. Elsie Hoffman, head of the Hillsdale Civic Association, and Emily Edmondson, the famous slave who attempted to escape the Pearl in 1848 and landed in Bury Farm after the war, were all residents of this historic community. And this source is from Hutchin Lewis Daniels, the Anacostia story, 1608 to 1930. Published for the Anacostia Neighborhood Museum and the Smithsonian Institution by the Smithsonian Institution Press in 1977. Constructing the community. The activists, Frederick Douglass and Solomon G. Brown, were both massive activists in the Bury Farm community and wrote extensively about Bury Farm's rural beginnings to the beginnings of a cosmopolitan and enduring community. They became faucets of the local community and often encouraged the growth of community and advocated for it. Solomon Brown would live and die in the area that would be known as Anacostia, and Douglas' writings and advocacy shaped much of what Anacostia would become in the 20th century. They both influenced a generation of activists within the community, many of whom were black women like Elsie Hoffman, a founder of the activists within the Hillsdale Civic Association. And you can find these sources from Mike Daniela, Carter Jenner Rosa, Flattery Fiona, Godfrey Sarah Montgomery, Mimi, Ronlet, Madeline, Michelle, Will and Williams, Elliott. 10 Strong, Women of Bury Farm. 10 Strong is the name of the book. Women of Bury Farm, Hilldale, Washingtonian, 54, number 11, August 1st, 2019. And also from Du Bois, W.E.B. Du Bois, The Negro American Family, New York Negro University Press, 1959. All right, schools. Construction of Mount Zion Hill School, renamed Howard School, began in December 1867 and was located on Douglas Road. So the first Howard School for children was located on Douglas Road, formerly known as Mount Zion Hill School. The largest community public school. Hillsdale opened in 1871 and was located at the intersection of Nichols and Sheridan Avenue, now MLK Jr. Avenue in Sheridan. The school also had night classes for adults who learned to read and write. The school was built by carpenter Peter Wilkinson, who was also an involved resident in the community. James G. Burney School also opened in 1889 and later became a community center and the D.C. Public Library branch. Bury Farm becomes Hillsdale. Have you seen this church before? That's what it looks like. It looks like a church or a school. In 1874, Bury Farm was renamed Hillsdale through a resolution introduced by Solomon G. Brown and passed by city officials. The name change was part of a larger movement to give Bury Farm a new start and led to increased civic participation, such as the establishment of the Hillsdale Civic Association. This association fought for better public services with the help of Solomon Brown and Elsie Hoffman. The community during this era was often thought of as a group of well-to-do black people, and it was also acknowledged that their community benefited from a decreased death rate in the early 20th century compared to the early Reconstruction years. Time out. Okay, so I'm going to read that part again. It says the community during this era was often thought of as a group of well-to-do black people, and it was also acknowledged that their community benefited from decreased death rate in the early 20th century compared to the early Reconstruction years. So the early Reconstruction years, who was killing them? And I thought this was an area where the people moved in after Reconstruction. Also, they say these people were well-to-do. That means they had a little bit of coinage and maybe a little education. And also, the death rate was low. Yeah, Southeast. Y'all hear that? The death rate was low. It says they benefited because they had a decreased death rate in the early 20th century compared to the Reconstruction years. I wonder what we could do to increase the death rate in Washington County. Churches. Many churches were built and opened in this era, namely Mount Zion AME, Hillsdale Station Colored Methodist Episcopal Church, renamed St. John's CME in the 1880s. You see how they dress? What they got on? What are they wearing? What are they wearing? Who are they? Do these look like Africans to you? Honestly. Do they look like Africans to you? Notice they haven't said anything about Africans in this article. Carrying on. This picture is from 1850 to 1863. The Navy Yard Bridge leading to Anacostia and Bury Farm, 1860s, courtesy of the Anacostia Community Museum. Now, you remember earlier when I was talking and I said I was going to show you the original map. This is the original Bury Farm land plot and divisions, courtesy of the Library of Congress. Now, I just showed you the map. A few minutes ago. You see Popular Point to the left, the tip? Popular Point, the water. The water is surrounding the left-hand point. You see Anacostia River? You see that? Okay. And scroll on back down. That's the water. Upside, the backside of St. Elizabeth, which is at the bottom of the map. The long straight line going. They actually cut it off for you so you can actually see it. Going all the way up to the Strip of St. E's, all the way to Alabama Avenue, all the way up to the Ellie Lennox, and all the way back down Morris Road, because all those other streets didn't even exist at this time. As you can see, they were plats. You can also see Suitland Parkway in this map if you pay close attention. Now, the squiggly line. Start from where the T is in Anacostia River on the left-hand side. That squiggly line going all the way down and around, all the way up to the top right hand corner is Suitland Parkway. So what community lost out on land because of Suitland Parkway? Bury Farm, where you were thriving and building it up in the middle of the night so your family can have somewhere to lay their head and you can claim your own homestead and all that great stuff. Alright? Community gathering. Parks in the 19th and 20th century. Now I found this interesting because I never knew this before I started doing this research. Right? During this era, Eureka Park became a hub for gatherings and political rallies and offered many amenities to the surrounding black community. It opened around 1890 on Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue. Where's that at, you say? What park? What they talking about? This park was subject to surveillance by police, and they were unfair and exaggerated reports that it was unsafe, demonstrating that racial tensions that did not fade from the early Reconstruction era. Similarly, Green Willow Park was another colored park resort in Hillsdale in 1905 and closed in 1990 when resentment towards black veterans reached a peak and there was an increase of violence in the community. I'm going to pause right there because, like I said, I didn't know about this park. So I had to go digging a little bit. Actually, I just clicked the link so that I could share this. And this is coming from a book called Historically African American Leisure Destinations Around Washington. Okay? I'm trying to see who this book is from. By Patsy Mose Fletcher. Or Mose Fletcher. Alright, Chillin' Wild Color, Pleasure Gardens and Picnic Parks. You can read some of them. I'm going to read the beginning caption. The Capital Pleasure Club has recognized and will give its first grand picnic at Eureka Park, Anacostia, Monday, September 19th. The members of this club are employees of the United States House of Representatives and the Senate, and they extend a welcome invitation to their many friends to take a day outing with them. Music will be furnished by Hoffman's Orchestra, Colored American, 1898. Oh, the excitement of a day's outing, whether across town or down the river. In 1898, a place to go to relax, perhaps the night before. Mothers would be up late, washing and ironing the clothes to be worn by the family, generally the best of their modest wardrobes. Women's fashion for the end of summer in 1898, for instance, comprised of shirtwaists with Lego mutton sleeves and dark tulip-shaped skirts and smart chaps topping the head. Wives and mothers may have fried up some chicken, boiled some eggs, and carved some ham. Ready along with slices from a special cake recipe, a picnic meal was set. At dawn, the family would be roused to finish a few chores and then wash up, dress, and grab a bite for breakfast. They would hurry to the streetcar to ride down to the wharf across town to a pleasure garden. The steamer at the 7th Street Wharf would be waiting, puffing and rocking slightly, ready to take on its excited, dusky passengers. The well-dressed excursionists might strut up and down the deck of a crowd at the railings to wave farewell and catch a cooling breeze as the steamboat huffed down the Potomac. A band of musicians would begin to play popular tunes on the day, their cornets and clarinets screeching into the wind. Unless the steamboat had been chartered to carry an African American excursion group, solo black travelers boarded, last, and rode on the lower deck. The ticket takers at the Pleasure Garden or resort would be diligently collecting the pre-sold tickets or the daily fare. Once admitted, excursionists would rush to find a place to spread a blanket and claim a spot to call home for a few hours of simply stand and look around in amazement. Almost always the grounds will hold a merry-go-round or flying horses to captivate the attention of the youth and carefree adults. The ubiquitous dance pavilion, staffed with the hot orchestra of the day, will call those fancying themselves good dancers. There may also be a baseball diamond for a game between a couple of semi-pro teams or just guests. Horseshoes and quotes may call to the nattily dressed young and old men itching to demonstrate their skills and perhaps collect a few pennies surreptitiously. There were generally refreshment booths available to guests selling some selling liquor and perhaps gaming stands for a chance to win a prize. Many pleasure gardens were also occasions for speeches and rallies promoting a Chautauqua-like setting. Chautauqua. 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 That is an Indian word. Notable men and women of the day would take to the stage, generally located in the dance pavilion, and hold forth on the issues of the day. As elections drew close, more picnics were held to hear speeches of candidates or delegates to political conventions. At the end of the day, the worthies should take a slightly bedraggled their formerly sprightly starched apparel, now drooping and displaying patches of perspiration, will begin to make their way home. They would dredge up the strength to make one last rush of the day to catch that last streetcar, either from the wharf or from the gardens, back to their homes. For most, the next day would be a work day. Tired though they might be, they could regale co-workers or neighbors with stories of fun and thrills of the day at the park. Man, I thought y'all said we ain't had none. Eureka Park was described as a picturesque green spot just off the main street in Hillsdale, according to the Washington Post of June 2nd, 1896. The panorama presented from the ground in a westerly direction is beautiful. The housetops of Washington cluster in the distance, with the Washington Monument looming up in white outlines over a cloud of smoke from the city's chimneys, a hazy ridge of wooded hills in a remote background, and a steely gleam of the eastern branch intersecting the middle distance between the sloping grounds and the city's wharf. The park, on less than 2 acres, was more of a pleasure or picnic garden, as it offered lighter amenities, swings, flying horses, the early term for merry-go-round, Picnic tables, a small baseball field, and a pavilion. Y'all know where this is before I even get to that. Y'all know where this is. It all sounds familiar. We all gravitate to it every summer. I swear we do if you're from the hood. Its additional amusements include contests and prizes, country dinners for sale, and other refreshments. Park gatherings and even political rallies were often accompanied by the hottest bands in the district. So dancing was primary. Some of the more unusual activities included baby contests, pig races, and ox or lamb roasts. Roasted ox. I want me some oxtail right now. In particular, was a choice, eating, and a gastronomic offering to many major affairs of the time. So hold on. You telling me, I knew they had oxen here. So you telling me that one of the main dishes in this area was roasted ox and lamb. Eureka Park probably opened in 1890. It was located on the site of the Bernie School playground and parking lot and was accessible by streetcar. I told y'all. I'm just looking back now because I could think of how many times I saw a Junkyard Band play right there on Bernie Field. Baseball diamond. Looking now, how many times have I been on this field for football practice with my children? Or baseball practice? Wow. In fact, newspapers of 1898 and 1899 instructed potential patrons from Northwest DC to take the 9th Street car and transfer at Maryland Avenue to Pennsylvania Avenue or 14th Street cars, which passed the facility. The park was entered from what is now Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue, likely one of the earliest black-owned pleasure gardens or amusement parks in the Washington area. Eureka Park was also one of the last 7 black-owned leisure gardens operating between 1880 and 1925. That is so sad. That is sad. There are no black-owned leisure gardens, parks, amusement parks. No. Since 1925. Thomas M. W. Green, a resident and owner of several lots in the Brave Farm subdivision that became known as Hillsdale, recognized the potential in the pleasure park business. He perhaps saw the opportunity when the nearby white-owned pleasure park at Geesburg Point was closed due to fire. It had served black patrons on certain days. Green, a gardener, became a principal in the Eureka Park Company, which also included as officers William Thomas, a driver, Violetta Tibbs, a widow, Annie Buckner, a domestic, William H. West, another Hillsdale resident who later worked at the first Sterling Street plant, served as general manager. His son was employed as the janitor for the park. A former resident of Hillsdale stated that Eureka Park was one of 2 parks that so many churches from town, from Washington, because then this was Anacostia, brought the Sunday school picnic and church groups and things like that. Fraternal orders and charitable and labor organizations were other groups that regularly held affairs in Eureka Park. The park was also a popular destination for Baltimoreans who came by train. Now everybody came to the farm. This is amazing. If you have to know where you come from to know where you're going. This is a map of where Eureka Park actually was in Berry Farms. It's actually notated on here if the map says Eureka Park and Hillsdale Berry Farms location in 1907, Washington, D.C. This is a GW base map. Real estate atlas. So Eureka Park, if you look in the left hand square off of Nichols, you'll see Eureka. I found gold. Among the more usual clubs to take excursions to Eureka Park was the newly organized Anacostia Bicycle Club, which held its first picnic there. The Needlework Guide conducted a fundraiser to benefit indigent families. In 1910, a group calling itself the Jolly Swastika Club came out to enjoy the amusement. The swastika was formerly a symbol for being good or for good luck. Yes, Indian symbol. On particularly hot days, too hot to be indoors, 2 or 3 churches would get together and hold services on the cooler and breezier grounds found at the park. Music and dancing were important elements of entertainment at the park. One of the most commonly featured musical groups was headed by Elsie Hoffman, born in Washington and trained at the National Conservatory of Music in New York. Hoffman played piano, saxophone, and clarinet. He is said to have introduced the saxophone to Washington. At least one of his musicians went on to play with Duke Ellington. And there he is right there with his alto sax. Esteemed musician and band leader, Professor Elsie Hoffman, as a young man with his axe. What's his axe? What are we supposed to be a sax? Yeah, that's supposed to be a sax. The axe is a guitar, of which I have, and the sax, of which I have. This is courtesy of Ms. Ruth Hoffman Brown. Given the honorary title of professor, was sometimes doctor for his musical talent. Hoffman's day job was the government printing office. In addition, he operated a grocery store and was a civic leader in the Berry Farm Hillsdale area. Having funded both the Hillsdale and Berry Farm Civic Associations, however, his band played regularly and for many different types of events, including parades, Howard University commencements, competitive cadet drills, outdoor parties, and at a downtown white theater supplying music for dancing and filming. He played saxophone for Black Patty, the stage name for Cicerata Jones. Cicerata. And Early Diva. Cicerata Jones. Wow, that's a name. Cicerata. In 1920, the Washington Bee newspaper listed Professor Hoffman as one of the Big Five who entertained official Washington night after night throughout the year. Eureka Park was a frequent setting for political rallies, speeches, and charitable fundraising, particularly for Black Republicans during elections. Skirt! Yes, I said that. For Black Republicans during elections. Among those who gave addresses were Dr. Furman J. Shadd of Howard Medical School, Major Charles Douglas, entrepreneur and son of Frederick Douglass, Norris Wright Cunny, attorney and head of the Texas Republican Party, and J. Clay Smith, decorated Spanish-American War veteran and Elks leader. The Blaine Invincible Republican Party. The Blaine Invincibles Republican Club, led by Colonel Perry H. Carson, was a frequent patron. It called itself the oldest political club in the United States, and it was certainly one of the most influential in the district in its day. The club was named for Senator James G. Blaine of Maine, who had been a Speaker of the House, a candidate for president in 1884. Blaine had opposed Andrew Johnson's ending of Reconstruction and had sought his impeachment. The Invincible held a barbecue on June 18, 1900, for the purpose of adopting a platform and endorsing a presidential candidate after having participated in the Republican National Convention in Philadelphia. Dr. Charles Purvis, Honorable PBS Pitchback. Wait a minute. PBS. Hey, open my phone. Dude's name is Pinchback and just passed away today. The sax player for Chuck. I think that's what they said. Alright. Honorable H.P.B.S. Pinchback, a former Louisiana governor, and Whitefield McKinley, a local businessman, were among those invited to speak. An early barbecue held in honor of Carson on the occasion of his election as a delegate to the 1894 National Republican Convention also drew prominent black politicians from around the country, local leaders and representatives from the 22% clubs around the city, and hundreds of others. While Eureka Park was a source of enjoyment and relaxation for many African American patrons, and that's the first time they said this to the home, not all customers were well behaved, or so the white media reported. Geez, how long have they been doing this in Berry Farm? Apparently, since the 1800s. Forever. This, in turn, led to charges that there was undue surveillance by the police, which generated unfair and exaggerated reports where white Anacostia and Congress Heights Citizens Associations agitated for closure of the park. The police actually expressed their support for keeping the park open. The white women of Anacostia started petition drives to close it, leading to a ruling in 1918 by the District Board of Commissioners to revoke the license for Eureka. The white women of Anacostia started a petition to close Eureka Park. Can't have shit, huh? Can't have nothing. Again, here's another map of Eureka Park. It was only 2 acres. 2 acres? You crying over 2 acres? 2 acres of fun. We can't have fun. No. In 1925, the National Park and Planning Commission purchased the park from who? So he wasn't paying that. Yeah. In 1925, the National Park and Planning Commission In 1925, the National Park and Planning Commission purchased the park for $4,000 to set up the first municipal playground east of the Anacostia River for African Americans. When the Brave Farm Playground opened a year later, several community leaders, including Professor Elsie Hoffman, attended the celebratory event. Playground. I can't wait to show y'all what it looks like now. Yep. So the reason why I'm going through these two parks, Green Willow and Eureka Park, is because these are on the Berry Farm tract. You see what I'm saying? For all those people to be, we ain't had shit, we ain't had nothing, we was out here. Nah, you had land, you had people was buying 1, 2, 3 acres of land, you know. You had property, you built it up. They said you were well to do with blacks. And they also said that you thrived so much because the Brave Farm community had a low death rate. Ooh, do you understand what I'm saying to you? They also said that people came from all over the country to Eureka Park, i.e., mainly the people of color or political statuses, to come and do some activism and get some election. It was just. Green Willow Park. Beginning in 1905, Green Willow Park began to receive publicity as the colored resort park operating in Hillsdale. It too had an dance pavilion, a merry-go-round, and refreshments that included snowballs. Hoffman's orchestra was a great regular attraction, as was the Monument Orchestra, a band led by Professor Charles Hamilton that was popular with steamer excursions. The site was in the 1100 block of Sumner Road, just south of today's rental office and recreation center for Berry Farm Dwellers Public Housing. It was on a lot owned by Thomas Green, who by then had pulled out of the Eureka Park venture. In a display advertisement in the Washington Post in May 1916, Green disingenuously claimed that Green Willow had been operating on Sumner Road since 1890. Many of the same groups that frequented Eureka Park began to visit Green Willow, an indication that Eureka Park was probably closed or had lost attraction. The park seemed especially popular with Cosmopolitan Baptist Church, the Holy Name Guild of St. Augustine Church, and the renowned Amphion Glee Club. Other groups holding outings at Green Willow included the Monitor Relief Association of Naval Gun Factory and Stenographers Club, the membership of which was mainly young adults. There was even a tango contest at the park. The Elks held a picnic there for its 1910 National Convention and boxing champion Jack Johnson. And invited boxing champion Jack Johnson to lead the grand parade. There is no evidence, however, that Johnson ever appeared. Among speakers at Green Willow was Major Richard Sylvester, Washington Superintendent of Police, who gave the keynote address for a 1916 church event. John Langford, who became the district's first registered African American architect, also made a short speech. This is a map of the park. A drawing of Nicholas, now Martin Luther King Jr. Avenue and Sumner Road, providing relative locations of 1890 business and residence. Hey, this is hilarious. So, wait. So, if you're looking at this diagram, you can see the 2 acres of Eureka, which was the playground, right? Which is the playground. The 2 other acres.
The 2 other acres is right beside it. It's the daggone oh man. The 2 acres beside it is where the Gunner League is. That whole little space back there. Where we just shot the beast from Southeast. Yeah, please forgive me, but just reading through history sometimes will make you laugh because you wonder why you're drawn to certain places and why you do certain things in certain places. And we just shot a whole video right there. And I didn't know that any of this was the case. Mm. Green Willow hosted, yeah, that part. Green Willow hosted the second annual Hygienics Congress and Prize Baby Health Contest, in which 600 children from 3 months to 4 years of age were entered, a precursor of health fairs. This is where your health fairs came from. Okay, there were booths with health bulletins, free examination of the babies, and lectures on related topics. The most sought after giveaways included fly swatters and fans. Green Willow had more longevity than Eureka Park, perhaps because it may have operated as a private park, available only for lease by private parties. Eureka Park seems to have been open to all corners and all comers and private groups concurrently, as long as the admission was paid. Following the revocation of the license for Eureka Park, Green Willow's license was restricted for a period to renewal on a week-to-week basis. That is so trifling. Not monthly or yearly on his own land. Are you understanding this? This is a private park on this man's own land that he purchased, and he still had to get a license to renew on a week-to-week basis. Groups such as the oldest inhabitants, in parentheses colored, and the Holy Names Guild continued their annual sojourns to picnic at the park well into the 1920s. How do you fit? Oh man, get your daughter. The park was closed for part of Red Summer in 1919. Red Summer. When resentment toward confident black veterans spilled over into nationwide terrorism against black communities. Wow. Wow. Okay. Red Summer. In Washington, blacks fought back. Mm. I hope y'all heard that. I'm going to repeat it again. In Washington, blacks fought back. As a result, the police on the east side of the river felt the park should be closed as a precaution. It was reopened a few days later when there were no signs of disorder in Hillsdale. Although one of the last newspaper reports of an operational Green Willow Park was in 1927, people remembered their parents attending concerts by Professor Hoffman on Sundays and dancing there under the stars well into the 1930s. Advertisements read, Summer Night Festival, real jazz music, a country dinner, and dancing begins at 7. Other residents would provide history for Anacostia Community Museum exhibit recalled attending baseball games they would have down on Fairlawn. Then we had this Green Willow Park, which had picnics in the daytime and dances at night. The park closed for good sometime in the late 1930s. The property was purchased by the Alley Dwelling Authority. Okay, here we go. This is where the juice gets good, everybody. The Alley Dwelling Authority, okay? We're going to get back to that, too. And developed in 1942 as the Berry Farm Dwelling Public Housing. A portrait of Elsie Hoffman hung in the recreation center erected between the former sites of Eureka Park and Green Willow Park. It remained there, as did the memories of good times, until the recent demolition and replacement of the building. So beloved was Professor Hoffman and his contribution to the community, including the parks, that in 1976, a commemorative concert was given in his name at Virginia's Wolf Trap Farm. Ty, did you know Virginia's Wolf Trap was a farm? Wow. Yeah, that was a lot to read, right? Green Willow Park and Eureka Park.
Ain't no smiles where it ain't fair. Tight space with everybody with mugs while we rolling. Rolling through the south side. We got new fields, but they withdrew books, and they wonder why the students have a blank stare look. ASC pleads that the council sends relief, and they let them say they speech, then they tell them have a seat. Take ideas off the table, then the council's been breached. The interests ain't our own, and they won't let us speak. They taking our homes, say we can't keep the peace. The people still struggle, cause it's hard in these streets. For the wreck and the pool, but it ain't for our kids. As soon as it open, they tore down where we live. City claims the main, make us all disappear. Make $1 million homes in the next 10 years. While a tribe gets scattered, we all shed tears. Repeat the same cycle every 100 damn years. Should we still ask or start kicking ass? Cause the civilized living is a thing of the past.